Hey guys, it's me Jay. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the world right now. Right now is a very emotional time for everyone. Not only are we going through this COVID thing, but a continuous fight for justice for various people of victims of police brutality and structuralized racism. We're seeing um, you know, riots and uprisings and disruptions. And I just wanted to give my thoughts on it. Um, yeah, I think that they're just justified. The ones that are out there protesting and out there fighting the good fight against um, structural inequalities because that's what needs to be done. The death of George Floyd was horrific. It was unacceptable, and the cops that committed the crime need to pay for it. And also the death of Rayshard Brooks, the death of Breonna Taylor, and the death of Ahmaud Arbery around the same time. I make it a point to mention the names of these victims because these were men and women who had families. These were people, and these were um, Americans. Oftentimes, uh, the political debate and the political upheaval matters more to people than the actual humanity of the people. And that's the whole point of the movement for Black Lives Matter. It's always been the point, and it'll continue to be the point, is that it's not that, like some people that are against the movement say, well, it's exclusionary movement, and it's only for African Americans. It's not. It's an inclusionary movement. It's a movement towards justice, and that's what needs to be done. For the longest time in this country, since the beginning of this country, we haven't had racial. We've never had racial justice. We've had small steps towards racial justice. The abolition of slavery, the abolition of Jim Crow, and the election of Barack Obama. But these were only symbolic gestures. And what the community needs right now and the country needs right now is more than symbolic gestures. They need direct action. And a lot of people criticize um, these protesters and they say, well, they're all rioters and troublemakers. They're not rioters and troublemakers. First of all, most of the people committing these riots and these acts of violence, including the burning down of Wendy's in Atlanta, was an alleged white supremacist, and these are Asian provocateurs that want to provoke division and violence. Most of the protests are completely legitimate and completely peaceful, and anyone who tries to tell you anything different is a complete racist ass bag moron. You know, during the COVID-19 crisis, we all came together, we all banded together, and to agree that we should all stay in, except for some outliers in Michigan who stormed the state capitol, completely armed to the teeth, ready to overthrow the governor, waiting over there because they couldn't get a haircut. I mean, you look at me now, I don't have a haircut, I don't have a shave, but that's not going to force me to go to the state capitol to riot. But you know what? I'll tell you one thing. Those guys in Michigan who rioted and who tried to overthrow the government in Michigan just so the businesses could be open, nothing happened to them. They weren't shot down. They weren't bombarded with tear gas. And I'll tell you one thing: if I protest to go get my hair cut and go get a shave with a gun, I wouldn't be shot down either. Why? Because I'm a mixed race person and my skin is considerably light, and many would say that I could pass for non black POC. Now, I do have African and black ancestry in my ancestry, but it's not visible. My point is that in one instance, you had the powers that be, the people in power, telling us that we should come together, and there were people who went against that narrative and tried to commit acts of violence, and nothing happened to them. Here, someone is fighting against the system, and they're fighting for the justice of a person and people that have died. And here you have the government cramping in on their rights, their First Amendment rights, with violence. How come you're for the First Amendment in one instance and against it in another? How come you're for the Second Amendment in one instance and against it in another? You contradict yourself. How come you're for unity and cohesion in one instance but not in another? How come you're for economic compensation in one instance and against it in another? Either be consistent or don't say anything at all. Anyway, justice for George Floyd, justice for all those who have passed away at the hands of police brutality. Be safe, be well, and remember that Black lives do matter. Peace.